Welcome to Santa Barbara Talks with Josh Molina. I'm here today with Brian Jones, who is kind of one of the most exciting new entrepreneurs in Santa Barbara. And I had the opportunity to meet him not too long ago when the whole thing was getting launched. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment. First, if you're new to this podcast, please hit subscribe on YouTube and also visit santabarbaratalks.com where you can see other podcasts and learn a little bit more about this platform. And also, I want to thank my subscribers this month, the Santa Barbara Public Market and Radius Commercial Real Estate. So let's get going. Welcome to the show, Brian. How you doing
Thanks
today?
so much for having me. I'm doing great.
Yeah. Well, it was such a pleasure to meet with you. So let's dive in. Let's just talk about it. What is the Santa Barbara Beach Club? What can people expect?
Yeah, so it's actually the Barbara Beach Club, and it is partnership with the city, open to the public. We provide rentals for anyone heading to the beach to, rent chairs and leave the work to us. And then we also, have communal spaces. Anyone that rents, there's access to a communal dining table, kids play area, games, and then we have a front desk that sells snacks, ice, drinks, stuff like that. So really the goal is just to make, the beach easy, make it comfortable, and really have it be, like a neighborhood living room that's really bringing people together. So.
Right. So it's the Barbara Beach Club. So
Mhm.
that's really cool. So how does it work? So is this a thing where you have to become a member? Can you just pay as you show up? For somebody who's sort of curious about it, how does it actually work on the ground?
Yeah, so the city put out a request for proposals for someone to offer rentals that are, accessible, open to the public. Yeah, we offer a sort of a variety of packages. You don't have to be a member. Anyone can just walk up for availability or reserve in advance. And we have packages anywhere from one person wanting to come out and just hang out on the beach up to, larger group sizes for special occasions, things like that. Yeah, all the packages started around $20 for what's called our club set, which has seating for two people. And all of the packages sort of end up being somewhere around $8 to $10 per person per hour, and include everything that you would need: shade, comfortable reclining seating, table space, a cooler, and then all those sort of, add-on communal things that we add in there. So really, the hope is that all you've got to do is bring out whatever you want to eat or drink. Otherwise, you can, source from our little beach bodega that we sort of pop up on the sand. So.
So I was able to talk to you and talk to some of the people when you were doing your preview, I guess. And what I found sort of cool was that it's this incredible access, right? It's right there on the sand, it's near the beach, and you had sort of a cabana area, like a little, almost like a little living room, right? Where
Mhm.
people could sit around on these outdoor furniture and chat and talk. So, can you talk to me a little bit about the various types of things you can do? So it might be maybe a family who wants something a little bit with some shade and some amenities, but it's also like what, events, birthday parties, or talk to me about sort of the range
Yeah.
of things.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've been sort of offering different types of packages and events. Bliss Beach that you mentioned is sort of the first company that we started in 2019, and it's very much like an events-centered business. So we've learned a lot about, I don't know, the different reasons that people are coming to the beach, what they're looking for, and sort of like what supports that the best. So if it's just two people who are looking for, some time to just peace out and listen to the ocean and read a book, there's sort of like a way in which there's a space that's well set for that. A family who, small family who doesn't want to lug stuff out, wants things to be easy, have toys out there for the kids, stuff like that. There's sort of packages that are built a little bit more for that. And then for more of these celebratory, birthdays, families coming together to have a beach day together. There's sort of these like we call them cabanas, but these living room spaces, like you said, that are really conducive for that. And a lot of it, for me is inspired from growing up, spending the summers with my family on the beach and just all of us being together, relaxing together, neighbors coming up and pulling up chairs, kids playing, and just that being such fond memories for me and such a, like I said earlier, kind of like a feeling of the whole neighborhood being out there. And I think for us, when this project was sort of presented for people to put concepts out and compete for, it was really us having a blast, imagining like what are the ways that we can, provide these different experiences that sort of merge together in something that has that's really relevant to locals, that's inclusive of visitors. And it's just been fun to now see it come to life with people using it in all these different ways and coming together, mingling, hanging out, playing games together, making friends, and that's really all we'd hope for. So
Great. So you're essentially a concessionaire. I mean, the same sort of thing as if you were on the wharf or in the harbor. The city puts out a request for proposals, you respond, they choose you. It's just that your space is there on the beach. Is that fair?
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and like big credit to the city for being really thoughtful in the parameters that they laid out and sort of the way that they conducted the process. It's obvious that the priorities for them is that the utility of offering the ease of rentals and the convenience of rentals to anyone who rather leave the work to someone else or who doesn't have equipment, obviously is where it starts. But then after that, it really is like about how everything that we're doing is really thoughtful to people who that's their beach they love to go to. So there's still, all the space in the frontage. We've really designed everything so that people can easily pass through. They can use offering the convenience of a place on the sand that sells most of what you need, sunscreen, ice. It kind of makes it so you can just, even if you're bringing your own gear, come out, be out there, and in whatever way we can be of service to either the folks who want to rent chairs, who are already coming out, just don't want to have to bring their own stuff, or the folks who do have their own setup and just would love, some of the amenities that we can offer. Then, it's a win-win. So.
So where are you located? Can you kind of
Yeah,
point us to how to
we're
find you?
yeah, it's funny because there's not really an address for the sand, so you sort of have to use like other markers. But we're on East Beach beside the Cabrillo Pavilion, um, on the right side of the pavilion if you're facing the ocean at the cross streets of Corona del Mar and East Cabrillo Boulevard. So yeah, we have sort of like a little boundary area that we set up, a row of these smaller club sets, like we said, and then we have these packages that we call Shay Shay, and they're like more, lay down chase loungers. And then, like you said, then it kind of becomes these cabana options that are more for families or special occasions. So,
Yeah. So, we are Santa Barbara and we do sort of, love our beach access and we're obviously in some ways a very wealthy community, but the beach is a space for everyone. So, can you talk a little bit about just if anyone has any concerns or questions about beach access? I mean, you're not keeping people away from the beach. It's not an exclusive area. For anyone who sort of says, well, what if I want to go to that part of East Beach and hang
mhm.
out? Now I can't go. Can you talk about sort of the inclusivity of your program?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I live at the beach, so I understand that sentiment entirely. And I think, on one hand, it's like there's a lot of people who've like I've always wondered why we don't have these public spaces or these types of services in California. And on the other hand, some of us, don't want to see our beaches turn into something that's overly commercialized or limiting the amount of sand that people can be on. So I totally finding the balance between those things is as much a priority for us as anybody else and the city too. So yeah, I mean, I feel like, the there is no boundarying. It's all open space. It's the beaches is open and it's, all of our space as it's ever been. I think what we're doing is offering the convenience of these rentals to folks who are already coming out. So most of these people are already going to be going to the beach. We're just maybe organizing it better than in a way that's even maybe more supportive to other beachgoers than if it was just sort of folks spread out all over the place. But it's like I said, it's all open for everyone to move through. Anyone's welcome. Anyone can, if anything, we're only going to help to try to support the needs of all beachgoers because our success is everybody being happy with it. So,
Yeah. I sort of felt like as a dad, you're putting stuff in the fan, in my case, it's a little bit of work, preloading, making sure you have everything, and then you go to the beach, and of course you just, wherever it takes you, you do. So I sort of see it as a little bit of assistance, help, right? Like I don't have to load the car, I don't have to do all those things. Let's just go to that beach area, and sure, we got to pay them a little bit of money, but we have all the convenience there. So it actually allows you to enjoy the beach a little bit more without having to worry about the takedown or the setup, part of it, and so that's kind of cool. And then if somebody is near you, like somebody just puts their own chair or their hangs
Mhm.
out or wants to play a game near you, it isn't as though you say, this is the beach area, right? Like, how do you handle
No,
that? I mean,
we'll
you
be
don't say
like,
this.
yeah, we'll be like, if you want sparkling water or, non-alcoholic spritz and some ice, like, come on over.
Yeah.
And yeah, and honestly, I think again, like I think the magic of it is that it feels like a big community living room on the sand.
Hmm.
And we've had a couple super nice weekends where it's really cool to see everybody out there. And you tend to mostly have the locals for whom that's their go-to beach in the front, closer to the water, so that they're sort of easier access for swimming and kids playing. And we're sort of generally set behind that.
Yeah.
But it's been fun and amazing to me how many folks will come out. I think they assume that it's part of a hotel or something like that. And then when they find out that it's open to the public and that it's priced in a really reasonable way, they'll suddenly rent a set and sort of merge their things over, or we've had, to the dad example, we've had a couple really funny moments where dad's like got kids hauling all this stuff out and then walks by the desk and we say hi and then tell him what it is. And he just goes right back to the car, puts the stuff in the trunk and, sits down and is like, oh, because it's, I think we're all out there. We all work hard. We work too much. And I think it's important that we have more like actually restful leisure time.
Yeah.
And I think, I've always enjoyed, um, our whole team has enjoyed imagining like how we make it that for people so that you really can just actually decide in the moment you want to go to the beach. You don't have this whole preparation you have to do. You don't have all this stuff that you've got to bring, let alone stuff that's comfortable, that you want to be in for the day. So, it's awesome to watch people show up and think they only want to stay for a couple hours. And then all of a sudden, adding time, inviting friends out, and you just spend a lot more time out there than you would, which is what I think we all, are in need of.
Yeah, that's great. Now, Brian, you didn't just pop up out of nowhere. You've been doing work in Santa Barbara prior to this year and this event. So, talk to me a little bit about your connection to Santa Barbara and what you've been doing as a entrepreneur with other events around town.
Yeah. Yeah. So we started in a Bliss Beach, the events company, in 2019, which was fortuitous because the pandemic was really kind of like a ripe time to be, making spaces for small groups outside. But we started in Santa Barbara in 2021, working with Parks and Rec, actually on the same exact spot on the sand, just a little bit further down the beach. And yeah, we've been providing event services more for, something that's planned ahead, whether it's a birthday or a wedding welcome party or something like that. And getting a permit for each event, and which is awesome. We still do that also. There's that on that side of the business, we can do more special events for larger groups that are, you can get a permit to have a bar, you can do a cocktail party, catering services. So more of the special events side. But it's always been our dream to do something that's more, community focused. It's more of a space that, you know, um, people can show up to and don't have to plan ahead for, as is familiar in other places in the world. And so it's always been our dream to do that. So once we saw this opportunity come up in Santa Barbara, It's really one of the first of its kind in all of Southern California. We were just so pumped. It felt like it's something we've been dreaming of and working towards for a really long time. And we knew, we already had a great working relationship with Parks and Rec Department. We knew this beach really well. So it just felt very fortuitous. And we're, every day we're out there. It's like, I can't believe this is what we get to do for a living. It's such a blast.
And I think part of the appeal, at least when I was interviewing you, was I was sort of thinking in the back of my head of like you're kind of the perfect personality, temperament, face for this Santa Barbara thing, right? Like it just sort of fits you perfectly. It seems like,
Thanks.
I don't know if you're a hospitality guy in general, but it seems as though if you were to start something like this, you'd want somebody with your presentation, behind it because it feels fun and cool and down to earth, but also, kind of special. What's your background? Like, how did we get here? Where were you born? Can you talk a little bit about
Yeah.
your sort of rise to this place?
Yeah, for sure. I was born in Washington State. Like I said, my childhood was largely spent with my family up at the lakes in Idaho, hanging out on the beach, and we would pretty much just like post up on the sand for the summer. Multiple generations of family, neighbors that had grown up together, and it was just like a little village. It was just such a important and fortunate part of my life to grow up that way. And so I think I've always been like a beach baby. I've always been chasing like somehow getting away with, you know, supporting myself by living a life that feels somewhat like vacation. And yeah, I moved to Kenya and to work in childcare, healthcare work, and was living in Kenya for many years in the mountains above Nairobi. And I was lucky to kind of I guess, dip into the safari world and
Huh.
see the way that people plan like beautiful adventures for people and how, they could really be thoughtful to, community and to conservation efforts. And so I was really taken by just what I learned when I lived there in terms of, like these ephemeral spaces that are really beautiful, um, but, really are designed to bring people closer to nature, bring people closer to each other, and I really got hooked on that. And my first venture that I started that I still operate is called Kin Travel, and it's planning safaris for people that are focused on community-owned conservancy areas and amazing conservation projects. And then sort of the genesis for how it got to what I do now is when I moved to Southern California, I was trying to find a way to get more people to go on trips, and built this kind of one little pop-up space on the beach, to get friends together to come out for on safari. There's a tradition of what's called sundowners, so to come out for sunset and just spend time together on the beach. And that was in 2019, and neighbors would kind of walk up and ask if I could set it up for them for their occasion or whatever. And then the pandemic came, travel took a face plant, and everything that I'd really been working on felt like it was kind of dead in the water. But then suddenly this little, experiment on the sand was kind of my saving horse. So I felt so lucky for it. And it was at a time I feel like too, when a lot of people were not meeting many people and feeling pretty isolated. Whereas I was like meeting all my neighbors for the first time, really. My sense of community was just like expanding super rapidly. And also there were so many unemployed hospitality folks that were looking for work. And so I think all of us thought this would be some sort of like temporary thing that would tie us over until, things went back to normal. But then we were like, we kind of want this to be normal. This is awesome. So we've got a team of about 30 who, between Bliss Beach and the Barbara, that yeah, don't have to wear shoes to work and get to, make these amazing spaces and experiences for people. So
Well, that's cool. So you've, traveled, around the world, these safari experiences sound so cool. So was the first beach sort of beach club style thing in LA area? Is that right?
The events business started there,
Right.
and we have the events business operates. We have teams, local teams in San Diego, Orange County, LA, and Santa Barbara, and actually also in St. Pete, Florida.
Hmm.
And then, but the Barbara is the first beach club. We've never, we've always wanted this opportunity. So really, it's a whole new thing for us, and like I said, there really aren't many examples of this yet in Southern California. But our hope is that this really shows an awesome public-private partnership that other places will take inspiration from.
Yeah, and you were already doing business here in Santa Barbara, but what was it about this community that appealed to you that said, doing the Barbara, a beach club right there on East Beach, when presumably, you can go anywhere. What was it about this community that stood out to you?
Yeah, it's so, I mean, it reminds me a lot of where I grew up. It's just such a great size of a place. People are so kind and community focused. And it's so beautiful. The coastline's so beautiful. It's felt like, I don't know, like I said, it's all felt very fortuitous. Like this is a place that I love to be, want to be. We all are um, when the city put out the opportunity, it felt like, of course, that's like where this would be the right place to get to try something like this. And I sort of have been joking that in a way, it's like it's ripe time that a place titled America's Riviera has beach services or a beach club. So, yeah, it's just such a special place, and I think we just want to make our contribution to it.
Now, talk to me a little bit about what you can consume there and what you offer. Can you get a glass of wine or a beer? What are the rules around the beach club? I would imagine that some people would think it'd be nice to sort of do that,
Mhm.
but there's certain things you're allowed to do there and not. Can you talk about what you do serve or offer?
Yeah, yeah. So we uh have to abide by and support the rules of the city, which is no alcohol on the sand. We have an awesome, like I said, we call it the beach bodega, but kind of like little snack shack that we pop up every day that sells non-alcoholic beers, non-alcoholic spritzes, everything we can to really create that experience of olives and um prosciutto. Like one of my favorite things these days has been going to the little fruit stand in the parking lot and getting melon, and then grabbing a little thing of prosciutto from our stand and wrapping the melon in prosciutto and having a NA spritz. So yeah, I mean that's what we offer. We provide cups, cooler, ice, like I said, chairs, shade, everything that you would need, and you can bring what you'd like to eat or drink out. But in terms of what we offer, that's where we have to stay.
So do you have the prosciutto and sort of the deli type stuff every day? Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, it's all like prepackaged, like shelf stable stuff. So none
Yeah.
of it's like, we can't endeavor into that. But yeah, we've spent a lot of time really trying to curate um, and offering that stuff that we would like to have at the beach. Some things you would think of like sunscreen, ice, things that, you just don't want to have to make that grocery store stop for, but also some things that are just like, really feel like they fit the beach vibe well and, accentuate the experience. So.
Yeah. So are you a summer program? Is this year round? How does this work?
So it is, I mean, it's California, the length of the California season, which right now is really kind of spring through fall.
Yeah.
This is our first year, so we're kind of feeling it out as we go. But in general, I think, we'll be operating April through October for sure. And right now it started as weekends, and then we're kind of slowly adding days of the week with the goal of when the weather really breaks solid here and we're in, late June, that we start moving into the full week so that, industry folks who want to take their day off on Mondays and Tuesdays or whatever can do that, so that families, when the kids are out of school, have that there during the week. And then obviously the weekends are really when it's pretty pumping with everybody and everything going on. So yeah, and the different days of the week kind of make for a different experience. So like I said, right now it's Thursday through Sunday that we're open for June. And then we'll be going adding days of the week as we get into July here.
All right. And you open what time and what time do you have to take down?
We open at 11 a.m. right now, and we take down at sunset. And we do that every day. And I would love to add that like the kind of fun part of it and challenging part of it is that we build and break it down every day. So it's like this massive effort. Luckily, like I grew up building forts as a kid and still feel like that's what I get to do for a living. But it's a pretty big physical feat to build this every day, break it down every day. We arrive to sand that has trash on it and, a lot of debris, and we're raking it, cleaning it, getting it prepared for the day, building everything, taking it down in the dark often, and then we're there, usually pretty early in the morning. So we sort of joke that we like feel like we live on the sand now. We're like David Attenborough critters that are, burrow in the night and come back in the morning or something. But it's an awesome crew, and it's locals. It's like it's surfers, it's lifeguards, it's hospitality folks. It's such a great team who, do a lot to make it happen. So like we say, we do the hard work so that you don't have to. It's also people that, are there to be of service, who you will love, who become people that you look forward to seeing when you go to the beach. So it's a community experience in that way too.
You got the 4th of July coming up, right, and the fireworks show. So I
Mhm.
would imagine I mean, everybody goes to the beach for the fireworks, but that's probably going to be a popular spot too
For
on that,
sure.
right?
Yeah, it's already booking up quickly. It'll be fun. I mean, that's what we're at first we were like, all right, we got to ease into our readiness to, provide for a lot of people, and now we're ready. So we're like, let's do it. Let's go. So I'm actually really looking forward to it. All the holidays they're a little wild, but they're fun. That's like the full expression of the neighborhood, on the sand together.
Yeah. And just sort of, you know, send us off with sort of like, last comments, last words. What do you want people to know that we didn't talk about? Maybe the website, how do people book? Do you have to make
Yeah.
a reservation or can you just show up? That sort of stuff.
Definitely. I guess I'll start by saying that like it's obvious to people how this can be supportive to visitors, to tourists and stuff. But I think for us, like success is really that the locals love it, that it feels like a place that locals are at. And so we've really put a lot of thought into the packages, the pricing. We're actually working right now on a season pass for locals. So first of all, locals get 10% off the whole bill.
Oh,
And that includes snacks, drinks, whatever. And then we're working on a season pass. So for people who want to come more frequently, there's a even bigger cost break to committing to coming a few times a month or during the season. And then, yeah, how you book, like I said, you can reserve online. The website is thebarbara.co. Um, and you can make a reservation right there. And otherwise, you can walk up, like we said, and for weekdays, I think walk-ups are pretty easy right now. Weekends, we would definitely recommend reserving in advance. And for the general public who have their own gear and don't need any, come by and support us by buying some snacks and some drinks, or if it's a convenience that's helpful, we'd love to support. So I think those are the main things.
yeah. All right. Well, that's great. Good luck to you. I mean, I think you're already starting off hot and people are really excited about it and curious about it. And, good luck. I hope it works out and appreciate all your time and take care. Thanks a lot, Brian.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. Thanks for getting the word out, man. We really appreciate it.
All right. Have a great day.
All right,
Thank you.
you too. Bye.